The common narrative that NR, nicotinamide riboside, and NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, offer superior tissue specificity, particularly in the central nervous system, CNS, and mitochondria, has become a cornerstone of their marketing appeal. These molecules are often promoted as targeted NAD precursors, purportedly capable of penetrating the blood-brain barrier, BBB, and enhancing neuronal NAD levels more effectively than niacin. But when this assumption is critically examined, it becomes clear that the evidence supporting it is far from definitive. In fact, niacin, nicotinic acid, long relegated to peripheral tissue effects, may be capable of similar or even broader NAD repletion, given the right conditions, especially through optimized dosing, delivery mechanisms, or cofactor support. Let's start with a claim of CNS superiority. Some preclinical studies suggest that NR and NMN may increase NAD levels in the brain when administered at relatively high doses. These studies, often in rodents, have shown elevated NAD in specific brain regions, enhanced sirtuin activity, and improvements in mitochondrial biogenesis and neuroinflammation. However, a critical caveat is that these studies often use supraphysiologic doses, and the translational relevance to humans remains uncertain. Importantly, the mechanisms of CNS uptake for NR and NMN are not fully elucidated. For example, NMN is often hydrolyzed extracellularly to NR before crossing cell membranes, and both NR and NMN must pass through specific nucleoside or nucleotide transporters to enter neurons. The existence and regulation of these transporters vary by tissue and species, creating inconsistencies in bioavailability. Moreover, emerging data suggest that NR and NMN may not cross the BBB as efficiently as once believed. Instead, they may act indirectly by first elevating NAD in peripheral tissues such as the liver, which then releases circulating NAD metabolites or signaling molecules that influence brain function secondarily. This indirect mechanism blurs the distinction between targeted brain support and systemic repletion, raising the question, could niacin achieve similar CNS outcomes if systemic NAD status were sufficiently restored? Interestingly, niacin has already been shown to influence brain NAD levels in both animal and human studies. In models of stroke, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's, niacin administration has improved neuronal survival, reduced inflammation, and enhanced mitochondrial integrity. These effects are not limited to the liver or muscle, they occur in the brain itself. For example, a 2017 study found that niacin supplementation in a traumatic brain injury model increased brain NAD levels and improved functional recovery. Clinical studies in humans with neurological conditions such as schizophrenia and multiple sclerosis have also shown modest cognitive and neurological benefits from niacin therapy. These findings indicate that niacin is not excluded from the CNS, and that its effects may simply depend on appropriate dosing and bioavailability. One of niacin's limiting factors in CNS application is its flushing side effect, which restricts the tolerable dose in many individuals. However, this obstacle can be addressed with extended-release formulations, low-dose titration, or alternate-day dosing strategies. Importantly, the tolerability threshold for CNS effects may be lower than for cardiovascular indications, meaning that modest doses could still confer neurological benefits without triggering full vasodilatory responses. Furthermore, delivery innovations could elevate niacin's CNS and mitochondrial utility. Liposomal niacin, nanoemulsion-based delivery, or prodrug formulations targeting specific tissues, e.g., brain-targeted esters, could bypass first-pass metabolism and improve tissue penetration. Intranasal or sublingual delivery routes, already being explored for neuroactive agents, may also provide enhanced CNS access with minimal systemic flushing. These technologies, if applied to niacin, could challenge the presumption that NR or NMN are the only viable NAD boosters for the brain. Mitochondrial targeting, another claim made for NR and NMN, also merits scrutiny. Both compounds do increase NAD availability, which enhances mitochondrial function via sirtuins, especially siRD3, 4, and 5, and oxidative phosphorylation. However, this is not unique to these molecules. Niacin, when converted to NAD, in mitochondria-rich tissues like liver, kidney, and muscle, supports the same mitochondrial pathways. Moreover, niacin's ability to activate GPR109A in immune and glial cells adds another dimension, modulating mitochondrial biogenesis and inflammatory status through receptor-mediated pathways that NR and NMN do not engage. What's more, the mitochondrial NAD pool is tightly compartmentalized, and none of these precursors cross the mitochondrial membrane directly. Instead, NAD is synthesized within the mitochondria from NMN or transported in its oxidized/reduced forms via shuttles. This means that the final determinant of mitochondrial NAD levels is not the specific precursor but the activity of transport and enzymatic machinery inside the cell. If niacin is efficiently converted to NAD cytosolically, and if mitochondrial NMNAT activity is intact, the cell can replenish mitochondrial NAD regardless of which precursor was used. In summary, the assumption that NR and NMN possess unique tissue-selective capabilities, particularly in the brain or mitochondria, is more speculative than proven. Their apparent specificity often reflects delivery choices, study design, or dose rather than innate superiority. Niacin, dismissed for its flush and low price, may offer equivalent or broader NAD restoration when administered with precision. Advances in delivery systems, timing, and formulation could allow niacin to match or even surpass NR/NMN in tissue targeting, while also offering receptor-mediated anti-inflammatory effects, unmatched affordability, and clinical credibility. The potential is there, awaiting only the innovation and research investment that have thus far favored its designer derivatives.